tapping into the true potential of the human spirit. This is Humanity Empowered. This is the Implicit Show. Hello. What is up, and welcome to the Implicit Show. My name is Brandon Dubé, and we got our friend Shawn. What up, Shawn?
What's up, man?
It's going good. I'm pumped about this. We've got Shawn here, and Shawn's been on our show, I think, months ago, man, a while ago. So you guys already kind of know Shawn. You guys probably know him through the Motivation Mastermind community, which is really cool. He's really active in there, the comment section, helping people out. And so Shawn, he's a coach, he's a trainer. He's all about resiliency, right, Shawn?
Yep.
I'll let you kind of give a little bit more of an intro for yourself. Go ahead.
Yeah, man, I love resilience.
That's good, man. So tell us a little bit about kind of your journey. So I want to hear how you got to where you are today, what your mission is really, and then we'll talk a little bit about, what we're going to give people on the show, because on the show today, you guys are going to learn exactly the difference between successful habits and self-defeating habits, right? And this is something that I deal with personally, and I know you guys probably deal with as well. And so this is something that we could all learn from. So make sure you stick around for that to get that nugget of knowledge that you guys could take in your lives and use. But before anything, Shawn, man, tell us a little bit about your journey. How'd you get here? What's your mission, man?
Well, it's not like this hero overcoming, kind of story, man. It was just like, I grew up in Detroit and I joined the military and I fell in love with drinking and alcohol and everything else, so we kind of had that in common. We were talking before. Mm-hmm. And, so I went through some bad breakups and I went through normal life things, but growing up the way that I grew up, I didn't have coping skills like most people do. I wasn't empowered. At a young age, I was busy taking care of, my sisters, and my sister was taking care of me, and my mom worked 2 jobs just to make ends meet. I mean, we didn't grow up, like everybody else grew up, and we grew up pretty poor. At one point, we lived in my grandparents' basement. So, I didn't have those coping skills that most people do. Like, well, I can overcome because I've been through it all. I mean, I've been through it all. So like everything that got piled on, I just never dealt with it. So at some point I just gave up. And so, I had my, suicidal ideations and didn't want to live anymore and all that other stuff. And, I had people reaching out to me like, man, you can do better. Like you're poised for more. Like you can be so successful, man. Just like, this is what you got to do. And so I got the help I needed. I quit drinking, stopped smoking, got rid of things that were really defeating me. And because of that moment of I reaching out and everybody's reaching out to me, and we're kind of just collectively like, what can we do to elevate you? Because of the people in my life, I became better. And once I had this particular testimony, they were like, man, you got to be a drill instructor. I was like, okay, cool. I'll be a drill instructor for Air Force Basic Training. When I did that, I fell in love with and discovered a hidden talent I never knew existed. Never knew I would love teaching, training, coaching, never knew. So I put everything I had into learning this skill of public speaking, of training, of, elevating other people around me. And because of that, I fell in love with, maybe I am a pretty resilient person because I have gone through so many obstacles and have overcame so many obstacles. Maybe there's something to this resilience. So in 2013, I became a certified master resilience trainer, teaching mental, physical, social, and spiritual resilience skill sets. And that's what I do, man. So I've been rocking it for about 4 years now. So just last year, I decided I'm gonna make this a business. Like I'm gonna put my tools out there and put my skills out there for people. And I wrote a book, and here we are.
Man, that's amazing. And what I like about that is it's a story I can relate to, and I know it's a story that a lot of other listeners can relate to. And when you think about it, I remember hearing a study and it blew my mind. It said something along the lines of like 75% of the biggest game changers in the world, right? The richest people, the people who have made the biggest impact on the world. These people all grew up in poverty. They all grew up with adversity. And so they were forced to develop resiliency, whether they liked it or not. It was like either you like give up and fail, or you become resilient and you make it happen, right? And so that's a story that I think we could all relate to, and it really inspires me for sure. So tell me a little bit about how some of the things you kind of learned from that, and where that's leading you now. Because I know you talked about how you have a book and stuff like that you're doing. Like, tell me a little bit about some more of the training stuff you're doing.
Yeah, so in the military, we do once a quarter, we do a 2-day full in-depth training course. We call it resilience training, and it's a bunch of other instructors that come in, and we just teach the military population 11 skill sets that empower you to withstand, recover, and grow through the face of adversity, stress, and the changing demands in your life. I mean, that's really the definition of resilience. Your ability to bounce back, your ability to withstand, recover, and grow. And that's the key. A lot of people go through adversity and obstacles, but they don't grow from it. So then you end up doing the same thing round and round, round and round, and you keep learning the same lessons or going through the same adversity, not learning those lessons until you actually grow from those experiences. And the skill sets that I teach empower people to do just that.
Mm-hmm. And that's what people need. They need that empowerment because I mean, we know the potential of a human being, right? The potential of a human being, it's amazing. We constantly improve on ourselves. We're constantly breaking records and making amazing things happen. But it's what we're willing to do, right? There's barriers there. There's limits that we self-impose on ourselves. And so I know those limits, they lead to self-defeating habits, right? Which is kind of what our topic's about today, successful habits versus self-defeating habits. Tell me a little bit about why you wanted to bring this up today.
Yeah, so I was talking to somebody a couple of days ago, and they were like, "Well, I just don't feel like I'm going to be able to do it." They were trying to figure out their next course of action, like, because we always have a goal, and so we accomplish this goal, we accomplish the next goal, move on to the next one, and then it was like, okay, now what? Like, I only set myself these many goals. I was like, what do I do now? I'm like, well, I'm just asking simple questions like, well, what are the passions? And I mean, you're on your purpose, you're living your purpose. Like, where do you see it? Where can you branch off? And just asking the normal questions. He's like, I don't know, man, maybe I'm just not good enough. And he started to like talk himself down. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, you're trying to tell me that you're not good enough, but you did all this cool stuff. I mean, I got the skill for you. And then we talked about balanced thinking. One of the skill sets in resilience is balancing your thinking. Like, do I have all of the evidence that proves this thought? No, then it's an unbalanced thought, and you're absolutely wrong. So one of the self-defeating habits that we do is we talk ourselves down or we talk ourselves out of something. And if we stop that and just say yes, or I can do this, and just do it, and then make goals that will project ourselves onto that path, we'd be so much farther ahead in life. But I mean, that's one of the basic things that I mean, that's what kills us. It's what kills all momentum is, I can't do this. No, I can't do that.
Where do you think that comes from, man? Like, because I think everybody has some level of that within them. Where does that come from?
It's a learned behavior. You learn that way. Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, well, I just want to fail at everything today. I think I'm just going to fail at everything I do because, that sounds like, no, nobody wakes up saying that. So everybody wants to be successful in something. Everybody wants to have some level of success, or they just want to get through the day, which at the end of the day to them is a success. But if we can build on that and elevate those views, because it's a self-limiting belief that says that, well, I'm only made to do this certain level of thing, and I mean that's all I can do. Like when we talk about goals, what are some of the things that we know about goals? They have to be like measurable. They got to be specific. But what's one of the other ones that we always hear about? It's got to be realistic. Yeah, that's a self-limiting belief. Anybody who ever tells you to have a realistic goal, throat punch them. Like literally, like, if your goal doesn't make other people laugh, it's not high enough. If your goal doesn't throat punch you and floor you, then it's not high enough. If your goal doesn't scare you or scare someone else, it's not high enough. If you set your sights on the moon but only hit the stars, or vice versa, then you're going to make it. If you set your goal so astronomically high, at some point you will hit somebody else's belief of what they think of you and go beyond that. And that's where a lot of people fail. They set these little itty bitty goals, like, well, I kind of want to do this. And then they hit it and they're like, all right, well, I hit it. I'm done. So
yeah, man, I could definitely relate to that. I mean, I remember when I first started, I went down a really dark path. We've talked about this before. I was really into drinking, really into junk food and drugs and partying. And it was just like, that was all I really wanted to do for, a big chunk of my life. And then, it led me to a point where I just had so much pain. I just felt like I wasn't getting anywhere. I was just so much frustration and pain, and it wasn't giving me the fulfillment I wanted. I mean, oh, surprise, alcohol is not fulfilling you, huh? Well, I eventually decided, I got to quit this. I got to get out of this. And I started, it wasn't really until I had all that pain and I felt all that stuff. And so eventually, it was a book, Think and Grow Rich, that really helped me switch my thinking around and change things. And when I was getting into this personal development world, there's a huge thing for me is I couldn't, I was listening a lot of times, but I wasn't always applying a lot of things until like months later, you finally apply it. But, just setting myself in that new environment changed the game for me. And so I think that's a huge tip for other people too.
Oh, absolutely. Environment plays a huge role.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit more about, how people could start to recognize these self-defeating habits within themselves, because a lot of, sometimes it's unconscious. We don't know we're talking this way to ourselves. We don't know we're talking ourselves down. And there's other ones as well. How do we kind of get that awareness if we're having trouble with that? And then, get into applying things, because I hear people talk all the time. And like you said, oh, I got this goal. It's kind of cool. Oh, I got the goal. It's pretty cool now. But they just talk, but they don't do anything. Like that's.
Right. So you have to have a self-assessment. There's got to be some level of self-assessment, right? So let's think about this for a second. Let's say you're going on this goal and you're on this journey. Like I want to talk. Like, man, you lived a dream of mine when you talked on the TED stage. Like that was so cool, man, and I loved your talk, man. You were like,
thank you,
so energized and motivated. I'm like, man, like. I know a TED speak, like literally, like firsthand. Like I can reach out and touch this guy, like you know what I mean? Because I watch all these other guys. I'm like, hey, like cool TED talk, like and I'm like, oh, I've heard of him, or I've heard, like I literally know, like firsthand, like a TED speaker. So like because of that, like I moved my goal from 5 years to talking on the stage to 3 years. Like I moved it up. I'm like, oh, I'm doing this. Like I know, because then it's tangible. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I know somebody that's done it, not just heard of or kind of heard of. You know what I'm saying? So there's got to be a level of self-assessment. Like you have to know your brain's interpretations and your brain's reactions to everything that happens, right? So if we don't know what these limiting beliefs are, if we don't know what we're doing, there's no name to it. Right? I'll give you the top three. The top three self-defeating habits. Here's what happens. You compare yourself to other people's journeys. You self-talk yourself out of something that says, oh, well, I kind of want to do this, but man, I'm not talented enough and I'm not good enough. And you're justifying why you shouldn't do something. Like, are you kidding me? That's that top two right there. And then the third one, the other self-defeating behavior and habit, is that you get about halfway done and you just give up because it's either too hard or it's not what you thought. You never see it through. Like there's so many unfinished projects that people have because they've either lost the motivation, which is ridiculous. You don't lose motivation. It just becomes something that you didn't think it was. Like if you were going to do this podcast and this radio show and you're like, I'm so excited, you get like 3 shows in and you're like, this kind of wasn't what I thought it was, and nah, and you just quit. You're not like, well, let me try to change it up. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like they just don't change it up. A GPS will get you to where it needs to be. A GPS will get you exactly where you need to be if you let it. If you make a bunch of lefts, it will say recalculating over and over and over again. But eventually, if you let that GPS get there, it will get you to where you need to be. We need to live our lives like a GPS. We need to live our lives according to that GPS. Do it no matter what. There's a mastermind group that I'm in called M1. It's March to a Million. And Rock Thomas is our master mentor, right? He has a saying. It's simple. Say yes and figure it out later. Using that principle right there has changed my life and my whole perspective. I did some research, and in 5 seconds, if somebody asks, hey, Bren, you want to go to the movies? In 5 seconds, you're debating it in your mind whether you are or you aren't. And if you ask a question, then you're kind of leaning on the other side of maybe I will go. Well, what movie is it? X-Men. Nah, man, I've already seen it. See ya. I don't want to go. Like you've already made a decision in your mind. Okay, based on the movie that we might see, I might go. Otherwise, I'm not going. Like in 5 seconds. So let's say like I'm going to do a podcast. Nope, not gonna do it. Nope. Like you've already that's kind of how the process goes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? How many times, Brand, have you sat there and thought of something, or Cameron has thought of something, and you're like, yeah, that'd be cool. No, no, man, that's bad. No, that's a terrible idea. No, never mind, and scrapped it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So many times,
Yeah.
right? So in order to combat that, man, literally, Rock Thomas, man, he always talks about it. He says, say yes and then figure it out later. If somebody asks you, want to go to the movies? Yes. And then, okay, cool, man. This is the movie we're seeing, and this is what we're doing. Oh, and it costs like $30. You're like, ooh, maybe not. No. Because once you say yes to things, it opens up your mind and heart. You're more motivated. You're more apt to you're open to like new ideas. That makes sense? You're not so closed-minded, because closed-minded people have the most self-defeating behaviors. Closed-minded people sabotage themselves out of every opportunity that comes their way, and they wonder why their life sucks.
Yeah. It's such you said it, man. You said it. I think Stone says B on Twitch said it best. He said, "Dude's on fire, man. Dude is on fire." But anyways, let's go through we got some comments here that I wanted to acknowledge. Rachel Johnson, you probably know Rachel. She's a great member of the community. We love Rachel. She awesome. Says, how do you set your goal and get focused on the work? Like get focused on working.
Check this out. Grab a pen and paper, because I'm about to blow your mind right now. Here's what you do. When you have a goal and you're working towards something, okay, the reason people fail at their goals is because, one, they don't share it, and two, they've attached nothing to it. In order for you to be successful in achieving your goals, you need to add a value to your goal. If you value family, if you value honesty, if you value friendship, relationships, whatever it is that you value, attach that to that goal. Time and money are two things that people will willingly never give up. If you want to see what people value, and they'll say, oh, I value family and I value love and I value, if you want to see what people value, look at their calendar and look at their bank account. Time and money are two things that people will willingly never give up. I'm not talking about like, oh, I'm gonna donate to I don't know, Salvation Army because the cold guy out at Walmart during Christmas time is taking donations. I'm not talking. I do that all the time. The reason I donate is because I value love. Like I value that service, that commitment, right? Let's say that you value honesty and you lie to everybody. You're not living out your values. I call it living your brand. In order for you to live your brand, you need to own it. You need to live it. And you need to add a value to that goal. When you've done that, you can only then start achieving your goal. Set daily, weekly, and monthly goals inside of that one huge goal. Break it down. Today, what am I doing today to move myself forward? What am I doing tomorrow? What am I doing the next day and the next day and the next day? And then on Saturday, set yourself a weekly check-in. I set myself these goals for this week. Did I meet these goals? No? Okay. Saturday, I'm going to achieve all these goals. Rest on Sunday, and then bam, hit it on Monday. What am I doing today to move myself closer to my goal? What am I doing tomorrow? And the next day, and the next day, and the next day. Mm-hmm. But you're all, because listen, goals are just dreams with a deadline. Goals are the accomplishments along the way. And your values are where you want to be in life. Whatever you value, values are where you want to be in life, and goals are just the accomplishments along the way. Goals are just dreams with a deadline. That's all it is.
Yeah. Yeah, man. And that's the thing. I find so many people that just get caught up in autopilot. And what you're saying is there's so much intention that goes into achieving any goal. Like you need to be so intentional with how you're spending your time. How you're spending your money. You have to actually take a look at your calendar. And I've rebelled against this myself like for so long because oh no, I'm a creative person. I'm a musician. I don't need schedules. I don't need deadlines. I don't need anything to hold me back. But in reality, you know, when I set those limitations on myself, it helps me be creative. It helps me get work done. It helps me actually measure the progress that you're making. Because like if we're talking about goals, like, you know, we talk about how they have to be smart, realistic, whatever. I mean, realistic. Don't worry about realistic, guys.
Whatever.
But you know what I mean? Like the timeline, you actually have to have a timeline. And I love what you say about having daily, weekly, and monthly
Yep.
like steps towards those goals, right? And I always love to talk about reverse engineering your goals.
Absolutely.
There's, because then you can take a look at, okay, this is what I want. Like you said, what are your values? What do you value in life? What are you after? And then work backwards and be like, okay, well, to get that, I'd have to do this, and then this, and then this, and then this, and then take a calendar and start, if by, January 2018, I want to have this certain amount of impact in my career, or this certain amount of income, or time with family or health, you could reverse engineer all that stuff backwards each and every month.
Absolutely.
And it just takes intention, right? So
Absolutely.
much intention, so much.
Yep.
So tell me about some of your favorite successful habits that you've used to replace the self-defeating habits.
Yeah. So one of the things that I do, I'm not sure how many. I know the Miracle Morning is awesome, man. Hal Elrod has a complete series of books called The Miracle Morning, and I've got the one for parents and families. There's one for entrepreneurs. There's just a regular Miracle Morning. But when you win the morning, like you win the day, man. And that was the number one thing. Like when I wake up, man, like I literally for the first 5 minutes. Right. Instead of like, oh my gosh, I woke up, like I hate my life. Because some people do, man, they wake up and they're like, I just want to go back to bed, So what happens, like you just sit there, and what I do for the first 5 minutes that I wake up is I just close my eyes and I envision, and I'm prepping, like I think Tony Robbins calls it priming, but I'm literally prepping what I'm doing. Like in my mind, I'm already looking at what I have to do for the day. I'm already like on a big screen. I'm the only one in the movie theater. I'm literally envisioning my day and how I think it's going to go. You know what I'm saying? So that's huge. Like first 5 minutes, man, you just sit there like, okay, I got this to do. And I'm envisioning me doing it. I'm like, okay, I got this. Okay, cool. Boom. Got it. All right. Now I'm ready for the day. So I've already kind of got a play-by-play going in my head. Another one, is just having like a checklist. I live by checklists. Like when you checklist your things, like what is my daily task? Bam, 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 bam. Got it. You have to have something to work towards every day.
And I love the idea of like the checklist and actually counting your achievements. Like when I first started writing checklists, I used to have just these little Post-it notes, right? And so
Dude.
Each and every day, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Look at this.
Yeah, exactly.
Thick Post-it notes, bro.
You get the Post-it notes, and then every day I'd write on the Post-it notes.
Yep.
And then on the other side of the Post-it note, I'd write down all the things I achieved or the extra things I did. So by like a couple months later, I had this thick pack of Post-it notes, and it was like made me feel really good because I was like, wow, I got all this shit done like in this short span of time. It's amazing. And so like I don't really do the Post-it note thing anymore, but I have an app on my phone. I think it's called Loop Habit Tracker. It's for the Android. And I just use it to track all my habits of my dailies, you know. And then you could go in there and you could see the chart. You could see like how you're doing, which days you missed and stuff like that. But I think having that level of clarity on like, okay, this is what I'm doing and I'm making it happen and I'm checking it every day and I'm measuring my progress. That's what gives you more motivation to continue too. So
every small win, man, every small win equals a bigger win. Right. So, you know, if you're setting your daily marks, right, like bam, hit that daily one, bam, succeeded. You might say, you know what, I'm so good at this part, like this little part right here. I'm going to add one more thing just to see if I can do it, you know, and then bam, I'm hitting that. And you know what I mean? And so even if you fail one day, that's why you set the weekly check-in on like a Saturday. You know what I mean? Because you can go back. I'm like, did I hit all these points? Oh, I missed one. Let me hit that today. Bam, weekly is done. Start the next week over. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. And it feels good. I love how it's just really strategic, right? And I find a lot of people, what would you say to these people who aren't so strategic? Like I was saying, like for myself, I initially started out very just open, free-spirited, like let's just do whatever, go with the flow kind of thing. Yep. And then I realized that like the flow sucks and is not getting me anywhere. That's from me personally, right? I'm not really down with the flow. But you know, I've become more strategic with my time, more strategic with my projects and with my goals, and even with my life, like my apartment, my house, everything is like strategic. And so it's just very intentional living. I feel like I'm trying to implement. How do you think you could help people kind of transition from being so free spirited and open and just not caring so much to starting to kind of think about how they use their time, how they, you know, keep track of what they're doing with their days and stuff?
Yeah, so I'm gonna say something very unpopular, and some people are like, "What?" Like they're not gonna believe it, right? But check this out, man. Time management is a myth. What?
What?
Time management is a myth, bro. Check this out. If you want to get certain things accomplished at certain parts of the day, you have to manage your energy, not your time. All right. So everybody's like, oh, I gotta have time management. I only have the. Everybody has 24 hours in a day. I don't have more than anybody else. You don't have more than anybody else. Everybody has 24 hours. So if you schedule things according to your energy, like dude, I'm a vampire, bro. Like at night, like I'm ready to go. Like let's do this.
Yeah.
You know what that comes from? And you're probably the same way. Are you like, oh my god, at night? Like I'm a musical genius at night.
Yeah, man.
Do you
I'm
know where
not.
that's from?
No, let's
It's
learn.
because our bodies are conditioned. You and me, our bodies
Mhm.
are conditioned. What did we do from 20 to 24 or 21 to
Oh yeah.
24 every Friday and Saturday?
Oh yeah.
How late can we stay out?
As late as possible.
As late as possible, right?
Yeah, yeah.
After years of doing that, we've literally conditioned our brains, and so that's just how we are. When you get rid of smoking, when you get rid of drinking, when you get rid of other habits, right? Other habits will start to take their place. Okay, so we conditioned ourselves. So like workers, like people who are like shift work, their body's conditioned. I'm up every day at 5:30, 6 o'clock. Like I'm up every day. Oh, I'm in bed by like 9 or 10. Like I'm not a late person. Oh my gosh. Me, I'm a late person. I spent most of my life working from 3 in the afternoon to like 10, 11 o'clock at night. And I go out and party afterwards, like 4 o'clock in the morning. But that was like an all the time thing. So
Yeah.
my body is just conditioned, right?
Hmm.
So later on, I'll tell you about this huge like London cab driver story that they awesome research that they did, and this is why they are the way they are. But you need to reset yourself, okay? And how you do that is you need to get a journal, a book, or something, and every day you need to write 2 to 3 sentences about how your day went. Right? I don't know, my day was awesome, my day sucked, whatever, and then have an action plan. Your last sentence will be like, I'm gonna go to bed at whatever time, and then do it. Whatever you set yourself, do it. You need to recondition your brain for you to be successful about what you want to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, oh yeah. That's what, man, that's what I did. Looking back on my journey, like when I first started kind of changing things, I kept a journal. And for me, this is a kind of a funny story, but the reason I started journaling was because I'd get so wasted, so drunk that I would forget what happened like a week after. Like the
Yep.
next morning I'd have some recollection, but a week later I'm just like, what the heck happened last weekend? What? And so like I was having some of the best times of my life and I couldn't remember them because I was a drunken idiot. And so I started journaling because I was like, man, I cannot forget that one time.
Or
that
somebody
really
tells
funny
you like, dude, I remember. You're like, dude, I have no idea what you're talking
I
about.
have no
Like
idea. What's that,
that
buddy?
never
Whoa.
happened.
Let me write that down. What did I
Dude,
what
so
did
many
I
times I'm
say?
like, hold on, I'm gonna text myself.
Yeah, like what did I do? Oh man. And so I started
Yep.
journaling just to kind of hold on to the good stuff and let go of the bad stuff. So I'd journal about all my favorite memories and my favorite
Yep.
experiences. And then I started journaling about the things I actually wanted, and then I'd start to
Mhm.
journal about some of my challenges and how I would overcome them. And then it was just like, and now I think I'm like 1,000 or so journal entries in over the past 3 years. I counted them, every single one. I put a number.
That's awesome.
And so like, it's been an amazing practice for me. I'd suggest journaling to anybody, like
Well, because
anybody.
once you put it on paper, it's then real. Like you can touch it, you can hold it. Like all of our thoughts. Man, people have thousands of thoughts a day, thousands. You know. So if you start writing somebody, that's how I wrote my book. Was I had all these thoughts and emotions and feelings and like, I was like, what do I do with them all? So I just started writing. I just started writing and writing and writing and writing and writing. And then pretty
Yeah.
soon I had like a chapter, and then I had like a table of contents, and then I had like all of this information that I used to write my book because it was on paper and it was easily digestible. So once you start, I don't care what, like I feel whatever, and that's all you write down, then write it down, and then, it'll grow from there. Journaling isn't something that you can do overnight. It takes a lot of practice, but it gets your thoughts out of your head and it becomes tangible. And then you have
Hmm.
something to work with.
It's not something that has to be perfect either. Like
No, not at all.
I,
No one's
I,
grading it.
I know that. I journal every single day, and sometimes it's completely different. Sometimes I talk about my day. Sometimes I talk about my goals. Sometimes I talk about a fear that I have that I want to overcome. Sometimes I talk about, my overall vision or dream or mission in life, or like a problem or like a something. It could be anything. Sometimes I journal about just something funny that happened today. But as long as I put something to paper, I feel good about it. And I fill out 1 page a day, man, just one little page. And then I rate myself on 3 levels. How did I do in my personal life, professional life, and social life? So my personal life,
That's
meaning
awesome.
like how I'm doing as a person, with myself, my intimate self, am I kicking ass or am I being lazy? And then, my professional life, sorry, excuse me. How am I doing? How am I doing with the podcast? How am I doing with all these other things? I mean, I'm burping live on the podcast.
We're live.
So I might not have to rate myself very well now on my professionalism. And then I rate myself on my social life, right? I might have to rate myself pretty low on the social life too. I don't know how socially acceptable burps are, but you know what I'm saying. But yeah, man, journaling, that's huge. What other kind of, actually, we're at like the 30-minute mark, and you had a story you wanted to tell, so I want to hear this story.
Okay, so the London cab drivers. So when you first move to a place, a lot of people use GPS. A lot of people, they use street signs, whatever. So they did this huge research study. It was like over 40 people were in this research study. They found out that London cab drivers, their GPS area, like in their brain or whatever, is like super huge, like super, 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 super huge. And so they took 20 people that have like horrible people with like no GPS. What is that? It's like a kid screaming in the background. Anyway, so they took 20 other people and they were like horrible with directions. Like they suck at like navigating. Like, oh my God. And they found out that area of the brain is really, really small. And they found out that inside of those 20 people, there are other areas that are bigger than, than the GPS lobe in the brain or whatever, right? So they found out that when you do something all the time, that area of the brain gets super huge. It's like working out your muscles. If I only worked out one of my arm would be massive as opposed to my other arm. So what they did was they're like, okay, well, let's do this. We're going to take all these different groups of people, and they grouped them all into like different groups and said, okay, you're cab drivers, you're this, you're this, you're this, you're this. Every single person that had a skill set, like this is what you are good at, right? That part of the brain was more massive than everybody else's part of the brain, which then they concluded that everything you do is a learned behavior. You're not born that way. Nobody's born a cab driver. Nobody's born a police officer. Nobody's born, an iron worker, whatever, military, whatever. Those skill sets, they're learned behaviors. So if these are learned behaviors, you can absolutely reset your brain, reset, and build on another skill that you have, right? Just exploit your gifts and talents. So, man, the London cab driver research study, huge, man. Huge breakthrough for people.
Yeah, man, that gives, I think, a lot of people, especially people who feel like they're older and like, how they say, oh, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, right?
You absolutely
and there's so many people who shut themselves down at a certain age. They're like, okay, well, I'm 30 now, or I'm 50 now, I'm 60 now, so like I'm done. Like I had my
65, I'm out.
Yeah, 60 peace. Yeah, like done. And it gives you hope that you can always retrain your brain. And I remember hearing studies, not only the brain, but also physical body. They've taken people in their 60s and 70s who, physically never really worked out often, but now they're getting them to work out on a consistent basis, and they're starting to build muscle just like people in their 20s and 30s. Right. Absolutely. And that's amazing because it's really just goes back to what we were saying at the beginning of the show, where we were talking about how you have these self-limiting behaviors and these self-limiting beliefs about yourself that are limiting you from what's possible for yourself and limiting you from really your unlimited potential. Who are we to limit human potential when every single year, every single day we see somebody defy the odds?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Yep. That's why I wrote, like when I wrote my book, that's when because I wanted to make the title kind of stand out, you know what I mean, away from, others. So that's why it's called Decisions, because decisions are the key, right? Like I said before, in the first 5 seconds, you've already kind of decided or not, like I kind of want, 5 seconds over, like, all right, I'm just not going to do it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Or when you see somebody in the first 5 seconds, you've already got a first impression of them. You know what I mean? Because that's just how we're wired. We're just made that way. You know what I mean? Because our brain is literally in the first 5 seconds assessing the risk of that situation that we're about to go into. When I meet somebody, let's say I meet this guy who's like 6'6", 250. I'm like, holy crap, way bigger than me. I'm probably not going to piss this guy off, right? My brain is already coming up with things to save me, right? And then if I say, hey, you want to go do this? You want to go do this? Your brain is already Rolodexing and assessing the risk of that activity. It's just how we're wired. You know what I mean? So we're wired for survival. And a lot of times it's that fight or flight, right? People will either rise to the occasion or they will stumble and fall. They never in between. You will rise to the occasion or you will stumble and fall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So decisions changes people's lives, man. Making a decision changes people's lives.
Yeah, and you're making these decisions every day, all the time, always. And like Shawn, it's those tiny decisions at the end of the day that will lead you to the big results. The tiny decisions of like, am I going to get out of bed on time this morning?
Yep.
Right? Am I going to eat the right food? Am I going to, say the right thing, do the right thing, or am I going to take the easy way out, right? That's why everywhere in my house, I have little Post-it notes that say, do what's right, not what's easy, just to remind myself, because I always had a habit in my life of looking for the easy way out. It was like, I was always looking for the easy way. What's easy? Oh, there's an escalator. Why would I take the stairs? Oh, there's an elevator. Why would I take the escalator? I was always looking for the easiest way to get by. Just like, how could I squeak through life? Just squeak through. And now I'm like looking for the edge all the time, right? It's a different question. How could I do the right thing? It's going to get me the best results, and it's going to be the best thing for me. It's going to be the best thing for the people around me and humanity as a whole. And that's how I make every single little decision. Is this good for me? Is it good for others? Is it good for the greater good, like humanity as a whole? And when I make those little decisions, even if it's the smallest little decision, what I'm going to say and do today, how I'm going to react, how I'm going to behave, those decisions add up and they create a lifetime, right? They create a legacy.
Oh yeah, man.
And so
you nailed it, man.
It's power.
Getting me all pumped up. I'm like, yeah, let's do this. I'm hearing Rocky music right now.
Anyways, Shawn, man, thank you so much for coming on the show. I always love when we chat. I feel like we have a similar energy. We get a little intense, get a little too into it sometimes. That's what I'm all about, man. So thanks again for coming on the show. I'm sure we'll book something too soon. I'd love to have you back anytime soon. Thanks for everybody. Thanks to all our commenters here in the comment section for tuning in. Greg Walker, Rachel Johnson, Andrea Rain, a bunch of people from Twitch. Yeah, thank you guys so much. And hey, if you guys want to support what we're doing, we're launching a Patreon campaign, so you could go support us at patreon.com/implicit. You get all sorts of cool stuff there, books and programs and courses and masterminds and fun stuff like that. So everybody say thanks again to Shawn. Shawn, let's see the peace sign, man. Let's get the peace sign.
See you, man. Appreciate you.
Peace. Shawn, fire.